Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
My enemies' walls are bound to crumble, and to the floor their spears will fall. I've been made and sealed with love, but time to battle, I'll fight them all. I felt the whips and remember chains, when my sword has been forged by my father's flames. Fight your fears and heal your pain, and victory will be in your name.
I used to be weak, but I'm not weak no more. The strength of my ancestors deep down in my African core. I used to be fighting, I'm not afraid no more. The Father blessed me with the heart of a lion and a warrior so no weapon that form against me shall not prevail. No man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. Cause I will conquer, no I will conquer. Yes I will conquer, no man let's conquer, no I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them. Tell them no retreat, no surrender. I shall fight till the end of days. I was born as a Makai warrior, and the Almighty God my blade. Fire burn as Satan carrier. Father loose no shackles and chains. This morning first thing that I wake up, King David told Sam to the brain. Don't let your courage go down, keep it up. And if your heart reap up and stitch it up, don't let your faith them fall, pick it up. When my cup was empty, God fill it up. Don't take the devil contra, rip it up. And if your bad mind people you go meet it up. Pass me the Congo drum and let me beat it up. God on my side, me no give it up. No weapon that form against us shall not prevail. No man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. Cause I will conquer, no I will conquer. Yes I will conquer them. No man let's conquer, no I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them.
Thank you, Father. I want to say thank you, Lord. Everything, Father.
Good morning, Grenada. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 City Sound FM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Cicero Radio broadcasting out there from Carriacou, Hillsborough, Carriacou, 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the live video, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube. A very special good morning to you. It is a beautiful, beautiful sunny day in the Spice Isle of Grenada. I was coming to work this morning and there was a lot of bustle, a lot of people moving through the parish of St. George, because now we have the ability and the opportunity to cross through parishes, all right? Of course, we are still under 24-hour quarantine, and I feel like I need to stress that, not because there is an easement in the protocols. It means that everybody could just get up now and just move around as they please. no, we still have to be cautious. We still have to be vigilant. We still have to adhere to the measures and ensure that we are doing what we can to not only protect ourselves and our family members, but of course the nation as a whole. So we definitely want to adhere to the policies. We are still under 24-hour quarantine. All right. This week is definitely going to be a telling tale. It is going to be a test for us. It's how well we do and how well we handle the liberties that have been afforded to us will determine how much more easement can be given to us. We are in a wonderful place as a nation, and of course, we must be grateful. We must be thankful for that. It has been a very trying couple of weeks, a very testing couple of weeks. A lot of us have reached into parts of ourselves that we have not even done in years. You know, a lot of us have had a lot of time to reminisce, a lot of time to think back, a lot of time to put measures in place for betterment of self and, of course, betterment of our family members. We've rekindled old flames with family members, kept in touch with friends, gotten to know our children better. So for a lot of us, it has been a testing time, a telling time, and it hasn't ended as yet. We still have a lot more to go. We still have a lot of adjusting to do. A lot of things that are going to come our way that we need to make adjustments to going forward. What will the new normal be? And that is the question that a lot of us are going to be asking. Things will not be the way that they were when we went into this pandemic, when we went into this quarantine. A lot will change. We must now condition ourselves to accept and to adjust to those changes. And that will make the difference. So I do have a few things to report this morning. Of course, coming out of a press conference with the Royal Grenada Police Force, they would have provided us with much needed information to guide us through the next couple of days. Of course, we will start with some of the easements that were given. Of course, a lot of businesses were approved to open their doors to the general public. Of course, we will address, or I will address, the issue of transportation. I know a lot of people are wondering, well, why? How are we supposed to do this and that and the other if there is no public transportation? Keeping in mind, we are still under quarantine. We have been given a lot of opportunities so that we are able to, those who are in absolute need, I must add, are able to attend to their business. But of course, we are still advised and we are still guided by the protocols and the policies that we must stay inside unless it is absolutely necessary that we leave our homes. So please, we are urging, we are begging, we are pleading with the general public. If you do not have to leave your home, if it is not absolutely necessary, if it is not a medical or food emergency, try as best as possible to stay indoors. I know that there are a lot of people clamoring about barrels and being able to access their goods on the port. Of course, that is important. There are some people who would have received food items, which would, of course, save them from having a food emergency. As the acting commissioner of police would have mentioned, the process is being finalized for the port authorities so that they are able to come up with a process that will be easy, that will be safe, so persons can access the items that they have or the barrels that they have on port. Of course, from today, Compass Shipping will be allowed to clear barrels, allow people to clear barrels. However, there is a process. You have to wait until you are contacted. I cannot speak in surety in saying this, but if you go to Compass Shipping without being contacted, they do reserve the right to turn you away because, of course, there is a process that you must follow, and this process is for your safety. So please adhere to it. Please wait to be contacted. They will contact you when it is time for you to clear your barrels. So remember, our days of easements are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Shopping days, and that is extended from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also have to take into consideration that you will have an opportunity to get fuel, and that would be from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. So gas stations are expected to be open from that time to allow persons to refill. Remember, we have 3 days. You don't have to crowd all of the gas stations, all of the supermarkets and so on in one day. It is not necessary. We don't have to do it. So let us take this thing in strides. Let us take this thing in strides. Let us be safe and be as safe as we possibly can in this time. I'm looking here quickly to get you the list of the businesses that are expected to be open today. I'm looking here to see if I can find it quickly for you. But of course, we know in addition to our gas stations and our grocery shops, we also have banks that will be opening. We also, there we go, that's the list. So we have accountants, those who need to go in to do their accounting businesses, they are allowed to go in and do that. Bakeries are allowed to open. Banks, credit unions, building and loan and money remittances such as Western Union, MoneyGrams, so on. Butchers are also offered the opportunity to operate today. We have commercial ports. Of course, as not for residential barrels as yet, of course, with the exception of Compass Shipping. We have eye care providers, farming and fisheries, gas stations from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., hardware stores, home delivery services extended to groceries, restaurants, and couriers, inland revenue, insurance companies, maintenance services, specifically house repair, manufacturers, medical practitioners, pharmacies and drugstores, restaurants, takeaway, drive-through and delivery only. All right? Telecommunications, retail outlets, veterinarians, wholesale and retail grocery stores, and shops. So these are the persons who are, or the businesses who are allowed to open today and will be afforded Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to carry out their businesses. In addition to that, let me just pull that information up here. We also have a lot of information coming out of the Ministry of Education yesterday as it relates to the way forward for our children. And of course, as a mother myself, that is a question that I always ask. What is the way forward? What will become the norm for our children in the upcoming months? The minister would have made mention of a lot of procedures that they are putting in place to ensure that our children are properly attended to. The new platform for education, which has been launched, and teachers and schools, institutions are being encouraged. They are not mandated to use it, but they are being encouraged to use it, and that's the M-Star program. And for teachers as well as parents who are trying to get a feel as to where they have to go to access that, it would be mygrenada.mstar, that's MSTARLSP.com. And of course, you have to be registered to an institution. And most of the schools have already started sending out their logins for the students to access it. I myself has had an opportunity to view the platform, to see what it's like. Of course, because the school that my children attend, they would have already set up the platform. And of course, I must say that it is very top-notch. For lack of a better phrase, top-notch. It resembles that of the online platform used by the University of the West Indies, of course, to do their online studies. So we definitely do want to ensure that persons have an opportunity to visit that website, and teachers have an opportunity to get it set up for their students, because in the coming months, in the coming weeks, they will need to utilize it. Of course, the minister did make mention that if you are already, or if you have already, if you already utilizing a platform that is for your class and your students, that you can continue to do that. You are not mandated to switch. Of course, there will come a time when you might have to utilize it, or when it may become necessary that all schools utilize it. But as for now, if you are using a platform that is working for you, you are not mandated to switch. All right. We also heard of all of the wonderful things that Digicel has done on behalf of the Ministry of Education for the teachers. Some teachers receiving up to 15 gigabytes of data to access websites and so on to teach. You know, and as I was going through the live video yesterday, I saw a lot of people saying that some teachers would have received and others would not have. Of course, this would be determined based on your need. If you already have internet at home, there's no need for Digicel to send you data. But of course, if you do not have access to any of these things, use the appropriate channels for reporting them. I say this tirelessly. We have to go back to using the appropriate channels. Going on Facebook and ranting is not an appropriate channel, you know, and I think we have come to a point where we feel that if we go on Facebook and we make a lot of noise and we create a scene, you know, that our queries are going to be heard. But your queries can also be heard if you use the correct channels. All right. So we don't want to make that into a new norm. We don't want to create an avenue through social media where we go on and we behave badly and in the hopes that somebody picks it up. No, that's not the way to go. Use the correct channel. So if you are a teacher in need of data, then contact your Ministry of Education. I'm almost certain that each teacher has by now a means by which they can reach out to someone in the Ministry of Education that will assist them. So use the correct channels to get the assistance that you want. And let's stop in youthful terms throwing shade. We throw in a lot of shade with hopes that our questions will be answered, right? So Digicel, kudos to you for doing such a wonderful job and meeting the needs of the educators of our nation. Of course, we have also heard that they have also embarked on providing the necessary electronic devices so that teachers are able to utilize these different platforms or to get onto these different platforms. And it's absolutely amazing what they are doing. So we say thank you to them. Of course, we know that we are in the rainy season. We are also very close, starting June 1st. The hurricane season would be upon us. And of course, that is something that we need to, again, begin preparing for. You know, we're coming, I shouldn't even say coming out of, because we are still on the heels of COVID-19. And then, of course, here in the tropics, we have to deal with our tropical situations as it may be. We have the hurricane season that is upon us. And of course, we are still in the dry season. So I see that a lot of people have been posting on social media that they have been without water, and so on. And of course, in hearing your cries, we do have NOASA, the PRO, or the communications officer for NOASA. She will be calling in at 11 today to speak with us further, on what is happening as it relates to the water sector in our country. We have not forgotten you. We know that it is a trying time, and I think that a lot of people believe that because because we have COVID-19 on our heels, all the other seasons have gone on standstill. No, we are still in the dry season, and we still deal with the challenges that come with the dry season, challenges that have been around for years, challenges that NOASA have been dealing with for years, and of course they have been working tediously. While some of us are on quarantine and some of us are at home, they still have to attend to our needs, or the needs of the nation during this trying time. We've gotten just a sprinkle of rain over the weekend, but that still does not cover the weeks of no moisture, the weeks of heat, and we haven't really been feeling it because we've been indoors, but it's there. The dry season is definitely upon us. If you drive through some of the communities, you would definitely see that there has been a lot of, there is a lot of dry patches, a lot of dry bush, dry grass, dry leaves, dry trees. The place is definitely dry. We have felt the full effects of the dry season. And I know COVID has taken up a lot of our time, but of course we must not stray from the fact that life goes on and things are still happening. Things still need to happen even during this time. All right. Now I am going to open the phone lines because I haven't heard from you guys in so long. So the number to call would be 440-7377 local calls. And if you are in the diaspora and you want to share with us how you're doing out there, feel free to call us at 347-329-3101. I'm just going to take a few calls before I have to engage NOASA at 11. But I want to hear from you. I want to hear what's going on with you. I haven't heard from you guys in a while. Let's hear from those of you in the diaspora. Let's hear what's happening with you. We have a first caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Oh, yes, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Long time I haven't heard your voice, that we haven't spoken.
I know.
Okay, so how are you doing? Are you hunkering down?
Yes, I am doing my best.
Good. Now, I have to compliment the government for all the steps the measures taken. I'm an abider of the whatever the government put across there. But, yes, I know your concerns in people going on Facebook and saying a lot of things. I think we have discussed that some time prior. But I had been discussing with Grentel and our Cable and Wireless Flow, and also Digicel for quite a number of years, the possibility of access to Wi-Fi because data is very expensive. And they gave me the undertaking that they would move in that area. But I think that's where management falls in. And as much I had discussed that with everybody, the NTRC and even the government, the Prime Minister's office, and all the agencies concerned, no one pay any heed to this because that was prior COVID-19. I have been discussing it for quite some time. And nobody saw the possibility of it, but I saw it. And so, yes, I understand your concern, and it's upsetting when people go on Facebook and do those things. But sometimes that's the last resort. I don't go on Facebook to say anything. I speak to everybody, including you. But it's a thing of when you become a manager any system, your brain has to be wider than the ordinary citizens. You have to stretch your imagination down the line to bring up these possibilities. That's what you may think will never happen, will happen. And your brain's supposed to connect to this. And that's what I had been helping to do over there. And some people get upset with me, including your good friend at Canada. So I don't know what he's saying now with what I was predicting and what is happening today, because that was prior COVID-19. he couldn't see this. And so that's what we have to do. We have to stretch our imagination down to see these eventualities that will come upon us. So don't get too upset with the people who are going on Facebook, because maybe you don't know the discussion they had with people behind the scene, because I was doing it and nobody knew that, you see. So I just saying to you, be a little patient with them, okay?
All right.
Have a great day.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
I'm seeing a question here on the live that says, can we FedEx parcels for UK residents who are stuck in Carriacou, like medication? I believe that all of the courier services are still open, yes. So if you have something that you have to send via FedEx, you can definitely do that. That is a possibility. I want to announce quickly before I take the next call that the schedule for seed payments, that has already been released, and I'm going to go through it quickly by parish, by PD, by date, quickly, so everyone has an idea as to where they go. Now, in the parish of St. George, we're looking at the constituency of St. George Northwest. On the 21st, Tuesday, the 21st of, and that will be tomorrow, of April, the persons who usually receive seed payments in Cherry Hill and Fontenoy, right, at the Cherry Hill Community Center from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The persons in Fontenoy would go to the Fontenoy Community Center from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So on Tuesday, the 21st, which is tomorrow, and it's a lot of dates. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to give dates for today and tomorrow within the different PDs and the different constituencies. And of course, we'll try our best to update our page on Facebook with this information so that people have an idea as to where they need to go. All right. So for seed payments, the persons on the in St. George Northwest for tomorrow, Fontenoy and Cherry Hill at the community centers, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for Cherry Hill, and Fontenoy 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the community center. On Wednesday, it's Grand Mall and Molineux at the Grand Mall Community Center from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that's the St. George Northwest constituency. For St. George South, tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Belmont and Lagoon Road, Springs Child Development Center is the venue. All right, and that's from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., it's the area of Springs Cafe and Paddock at the Springs Child Development Center. And for those of you in Paddock, the payments will be made at home. All right, they will bring the payments to you, and that's from 1 to 3. And that's for the area of St. George South, right? On Wednesday, just see here quickly. On Wednesday, the 27th, we have from 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Calavini, and that's at the Calavini playing field, and 1:45 p.m. to 3 p.m. Woodlands, and that's by Sugar Bowl. All right, those of you in the area would know exactly where that is, and that's from 1:45 to 3 p.m. In the area of St. George Northeast, we're looking at the areas of Vendham, Boca, Bellevue, Bolio, and Snug Corner. For those of you in Vendham, from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., it's Vendham Community Center. For those in the area of Boca, Bellevue, Bolio, and Snug Corner, it's 10:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Boca Secondary School, and that's tomorrow, Tuesday. On Wednesday, from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., we're looking at New Hampshire, Willis, Annandale, and Constantine, and that would be at the Constantine Methodist School from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. For the town of St. George, we're looking at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. River Road, Sanssouci, and Williamson Road, and that would be at the River Road Community Center, and that would be tomorrow, Tuesday. On Wednesday, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. In the area of Dabo, Mount Rush, and Cherry Hill. It would also be at the River Road Community Center. In the area of St. George Southeast, from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., we're looking at the area of Laborie, and that would be at the Laborie Community Center. And on Wednesday, the 22nd, from 8:30 to 10 a.m., Calavini at the Calavini Playing Field. 10:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monjaloo, Richmond Hill, the Bocas, and Creighton. These places would go to the Monjaloo Catholic School for collection of their seed payments. For the area of St. Andrew Northeast, St. Andrew Northeast, that would be Tuesday the 21st, 8:30 to 11:30 a.m., and that would be at Seamoon. At the Seamoon, for the area of Seamoon, that would be at the Seamoon Basketball Court. From 12:30 to 3, we have La Porterie, the shop by the playing field. Those of you in the area know exactly where that is. And from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., Dunfermline, and that would be at the Dunfermline Bus Shed, and Paradise in the Cocoa, in the junction by the basketball court. Those of you in that area know exactly where that is. And we're looking now at the constituency of St. Andrew Northwest. On Tuesday, the 21st, we're looking at Grandlet, Lafayette, Paradise Northwest, and Cadrona. And that would be 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The St. Mary's RC School. From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., we're looking at Dunfermline, Northwest and Northeast, and Paradise Cocoa Northeast. And that is inside the Cocoa and in the junction by the basketball court. Again, those of you in the area, you know where that is. And of course, on Wednesday, we have Mount Horn from 8:30 to 9 a.m. Pole is the venue. From 9 to 9:30, Romaine Shop. From 9:30 to 10:30 a.m., Mount Horn Pasture. From 10:30 to 11:30 a.m., Rosemount Junction. From 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m., Cemetery Gap. And from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., it's Paraclete and Blaze, and that's the venue is Paraclete by Blueberry Hill and the Health Center Junction. All right, so take that into consideration, those of you in the St. Andrew Northwest constituency. For those of you in the St. Andrew Southeast constituency, on Tuesday, it's Marquee, Mount Fan, Mount Carmel, and Hope by the Marquee basketball court from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., we're looking at Carnell Road, Sendell Street, Grenville, Victoria Road, Salisbury Road, Wells Road, and that's all happening, or they all need to go to a Victoria Park to collect their seed payments. And on Wednesday, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., those of you in the area of Telescope will go to the SAS Pasture. For St. Andrew Southwest, Seaton Brown Street, Gladstone Road, Cook Hill, Rivulet Lane, Sendell Street, Durant Road, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Victoria Park, Grenville is the venue. And from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., Salisbury Road and Ford. All right, and that's Neville Matthews Shop is the venue. And on Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Grand Bar, Leicester, and Carriacou, and that is Grand Bar Community Center is the venue. And from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Harford Village and Mount St. Evans. Harford Village Community Center is the venue. This is a mouthful. So bear with me. And for those of you just joining us, I am letting you know where the seed payments will be made. And that is beginning from tomorrow. In St. Patrick East from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. we have Bay Road. And I want to believe that this is Glebe Street. For those of you who know how to pronounce it better, correct me. And that's happening at the Surtees Hard Court from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Lavera and La Fortune, and that would be at Rose Caton's shop. From 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Madeiras and Cedars, and that's in Cedars, and that's in at the fire station. All right. For St. David's for tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Latente, and that's at the Latente Junction. 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pomrose Catholic Church. And on Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. it's Après Tout and Tebaid, and that's at Patrick Francis Shop from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. PT Esperance, Belle Isle Content, and Maltsley, and that's St. David's Police Station. All right, for the constituency of St. Mark, we have from 9 a.m. Fountain, Digo Peace, Union, Samaritan, and Bel Air. It's the Samaritan Presbyterian School. From 10 a.m. it's Resource, and that's close to Choco Shop. From 1:15 it's Nonpareil, and that's at the Pasture. On Wednesday, the 8:30 a.m. it's the Crusher, and then Upper Waltham, and that's at the St. Mark's Secondary School grounds. And at 9:30 it's Lower Waltham, River Sally Bus Shed. So Lower Waltham and River Sally would go to the River Sally bus shed. 11 a.m. Coast Guard at the Coast Guard Preschool, and at 2 p.m. it's Upper Diamond and Lower Diamond Day Shop, and Lower Diamond home payments will be made to you. And finally, we have St. John. Let me just fix that here. Okay, on Tuesday at 8:30, Florida, and that would be at the Florida Community Center from 8:30 to 9:30. 10 a.m. to 11, Cloger, Belvedere, Mount Felix at the Cloger Community Center. Upper Depredine, Langton Road, Cornets Walk, St. Dominic Street, Victoria Road, Edward Street, New Street, Parkview, Lower Depredine, Central Depredine, The Lance, Mango Road, St. Francis Street. From 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. it's the St. John Anglican School. On Wednesday, it's 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and that would be Mount Granby, Douglaston, and Mount Nesbitt, and they will be at the Mount Granby Community Center from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Concord, Cotton Bailey, Brooklyn, and Woodford at the Concord Government School. So it's a lot of information to take in. As I said earlier, we will be posting this information on our Facebook page for those of you who need to see and who need to inform loved ones and neighbors of the days that they will be or they would need to go and collect their seed payments. Of course, I also need to report that the Minister of Health, or the Ministry of Health, will be facilitating a live press conference today at 4 p.m. Remember, today at 4 p.m., the Ministry of Health will be facilitating a live press conference And of course, let me just look at that one more time. Sorry, that was, let me just correct that. The Minister of Health, the Honorable Nicholas Steele, will issue a statement to the nation at 12. The other one was an old one that was circulating. See, that's why it's important to circulate relevant information. So the Minister of Health will be issuing a statement to the nation, and that would be at 12 noon. So directly after our program ends, we will be broadcasting that as well. So a statement to the nation today at 12. Please keep that in mind. 12 p.m. today, the Minister of Health will be issuing a statement to the nation. So we cross our fingers that it's good news. We have been on the right track so far, as long as we continue to adhere to the rules and the regulations that have been put in place for our safety. Then we can breathe a sigh of relief. We can say we are, for now, as a nation within ourselves, in the clear. Please, let us do what we need to do to keep ourselves safe, to keep each other safe. You know, we're in it for the long haul, because even though we are safe as a nation, even though we have no confirmed cases within the next month, we have to keep in mind this is still an international issue. And so long as there are cases running about in the world at large, then we are always and we will always be at risk. So we must be cautious and we must be mindful of that. Now that the hurricane season is upon us, we have the time within this week. Some of you don't have to go back to work. You know, you now have the opportunity to sit down and put plans together or put plans in place with your family members. What are you going to do in the event that in the next 3 weeks we hear that a hurricane is on our path? You know, what would you do? So now it is time for us to start having those conversations with our family members, putting plans in place for those that are most at risk. You know, how do we deal with a situation, especially now that COVID-19 is rampant in some of our regional countries? How do we deal with something like that? You know, where cases are high. I think Jamaica is now at 200 plus cases. You know, how do we deal with that on top of a hurricane? You know, now it's time for us to sit down and start having these conversations. What plans are we going to put in place for these kind of eventualities? We do see that there has been an increase in earthquakes as well, not only in our region, but also in countries in the world. How are we going to deal with these situations? You know, so we have to take all of these things into consideration when we sit and we talk with our family members and with our friends. How do we deal with these things? What plans do we have in place? We see how the effects of COVID-19 has caught us by surprise. You know, we were caught basically with our pants down as the world at large. So it shows us the importance. It shows us the importance. Yes, Mommy, I know you would write it out by me. You're always welcome. But we really need to start having these conversations with our family members, you know, with the elderly people in our community, the shut-ins. It opens our eyes to a bigger problem, you know, a bigger problem. how well meshed are we as a society? You know, and this has nothing to do with government and all of the entities that have been put in place to put policies and so on in place. But as a society, as a community, as a village, how well meshed are we to deal with these kind of situations? You know, it leaves that thought in our minds. So as we approach the hurricane season, we would definitely want to start making plans and preparations for these things to happen. Of course, we're going to end a little bit earlier because we have to do the switching over to facilitate that press conference. And I advise, and I saw it yesterday, listen, I am so disappointed in some of our people, Let me save that for another day because we would not have the time, and Nawasa should be calling anytime soon, you know. And I think we have one quick caller on the line, and let's take that call. I think somebody has been trying to call on our overseas line for a while now. Good morning, caller.
Good morning to Grenada.
Hi, good morning. How are
I've
you?
been trying for a little while.
Yes.
But every time I call, somehow the call drops.
Yeah.
I have one quick question, for clarification.
Mm-hmm.
It can come from me. It has to come from the police, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I have a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the commissioner's statement this morning,
mm-hmm.
he never confirmed or denied that a boat was coming. What I heard him do was deny the fact of turning away. So I want to know if, in fact, a boat did come in from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, if he could clarify that in his next press briefing. And also my suggestion is, as it relates to going forward and with the buses, I think that if it's mandatory that everybody wears a mask, then the buses can take the 15 persons or so on buses, because somehow we have to go back to normal at some point in time. And I think my suggestion is that it's mandatory that everybody wears a face mask, and then we can go back to normal with the buses. So that's my contribution for this morning, and have a good day.
All right, you as well. Well, caller, let me just try and answer your question. Firstly, the Commissioner of Police said that no such occurrence happened. So if there was no such occurrence, meaning that there was no turning away of any boat, it means that there was no boat headed here, right? The story was indeed a fake story. I don't know where that media house would have gotten their information from, but of course, as the Commissioner of Police would have urged media houses, and I agree with the generalization, because you don't want to pinpoint any particular person or any particular media house, but it was a general statement. Of course, if it falls in your pot, it does. If it doesn't, then you take it as fair warning. But it is important to verify with reliable sources. I keep saying he say, she say, they say, and if you can't say who say, it is not reliable, you know, and you cannot count it as something that can be published. All right, you don't want to publish a media a press release or a story, and in that story you cannot quote one person. You know, you cannot give the name of the person that you're quoting. I mean, I know that some media houses do have their reliable sources, yes, but your reliable sources are there, and your reliable sources are there to provide you with information, but you can also verify that information with the appropriate authorities. That is why the appropriate authorities are there, so you can do the verifications yourself. You know, sometimes sensationalism gets the best of us, that we forget that we need to verify. So a story might sound juicy and it might sound good and it may get a lot of readers and a lot of subscribers and so on, but at the end of the day, we must consider at what that story is doing to the psyche of our population. Now think about all of the people in PT Martinique that are of the belief that a boat was headed to Grenada and are now thinking, well, if that one boat was headed to Grenada, how, not Grenada, Carriacou or PT Martinique, how many others had slipped through the cracks? And is there a possibility of infection from St. Vincent to PT Martinique and then to Carriacou? So all of these things need to be taken into consideration when we post these kind of things. And that is why I continue to say that whenever you are put in a position where you are to provide information to the general public, it is your responsibility to ensure that the information that you are providing is factual, verified, and verified again, and that is why I keep stressing, use the proper channels. Picking up stories off of Facebook and posting it and on your media pages and so on, that is not the correct way to go. Utilize the services that are available to you. And as the Commissioner of Police would have rightfully said, these media houses, they do have access to the communications officer of the Royal Grenada Police Force. And as I understand it, it is a story that directly highlighted members of the Royal Grenada Police Force, which means that they would have the relevant information. So no, that did not happen. It was a fake story that was posted. And it is time that some people are held accountable for the information that they spread to the general public. So let's take also into consideration the amount of people that did not listen to the press conference or did not get an opportunity to get the press briefing. But as we know, it's a custom in Grenada that bad news travels faster than good news. So there would have been 100 people that would have received, and this is just me giving a wide number, but 100 people that would have received this message saying that police stop a boat coming from St. Vincent. But then when the actual story comes out, only 5 of that 100 people would have received the correct story, which leaves us with 95 people still believing that there was some boat coming from St. Vincent. It's the same thing that would have happened with the plane that came in at the beginning of all of this, when everybody was up in arms saying that a plane came from China. The mass majority of the population got that story, but there were a lot of people who still did not get the correction to that story. I'm quite certain that there are people today still that believe that a plane came in from China when the airports were closed. You see, so these are the things that we need to take into consideration. So we are expecting a call from Noasa very soon, and she will be discussing with us the dry season and things that we need to do, things that we need to take into consideration. So on the line, I have with me the Public Relations Officer, or is it Communications Officer, Jamila?
I think by now I should beat you,
Good morning.
I should not say it on air. But I think I've been in your presence for too long.
I know.
For you not to get it right by now. But you are forgiven because I have love for you. So,
how are you?
Communication supervisor.
Communication supervisor. How are you, Jamila?
I am well, and how are you?
I am good. Well, I thought it absolutely necessary for us to have this interview this morning. And of course, I'll allow you to say good morning to all of our listeners, because I think a lot of people, being caught up with what's happening with COVID-19, has forgotten that we are in the dry season.
Yeah.
So we hear a lot of complaints, a lot of people saying that, oh, well, we are locked down and we have no water and all of that. And I mean, of course, we have people at home, so a lot more people are using water and whatever, but we are still in the dry season. So it's absolutely necessary for us to clarify some of the misconceptions and some of the stories that have been going around for the past couple weeks.
All right. So first of all, I would like to say a special good morning to the HARDTALK family and all those in Grenada and the diaspora who tunes into this informative program. As you have rightly said, that we are in the peak of the 2020 dry season, where we are also faced with a worldwide pandemic in the form of COVID-19. The reality is that Nawasa, Grenada, is no different than any other country in the region that is experiencing severe dry season conditions. If we remember, it was last year we alluded to the general public of the fact that the predictions for the remainder of the dry season was one of a long-term drought. And the reality is that I live in Hope St. Andrew, and today was the first day I got some sprinkles in the past 2 weeks or more. Because it's going on a month because I've been home since the 31st of March. So I have not had a full shower. You know, today was the full first day in about 4 weeks that we've actually got some rains in my neck of the woods. And I think the story is the same for other communities in Grenada. The dry season is on. The prediction is true to fact because we are having a rather intense dry season. And the prediction extends for a long-term drought going into August to September. So this is the reality that Nawasa faces.
Right.
And it's not only Nawasa in Grenada, but all other Caribbean countries within the region. Overall, on a daily basis, Nawasa monitors all of our 29 water systems. We look at their capacity to meet the demands of their serving consumers, and we continue to record daily significant shortfall in production. And a significant shortfall in production at a time when the population is aligned to home means that Nawasa is more challenged than ever to provide a 24-hour supply to the consumers that we serve. On the 31st of March, when we looked at the statistics and the data that was coming in from the plant daily, we decided that to cushion the effects for our consumers, that we need to institute valve regulation schedule. Of course, it did not go down well with the population, especially in a time where we are asking them to observe personal and proper hygiene because of the threat of COVID-19. But the reality is that we did not have a choice. It's either we allow the system to run as is, and persons are affected not just 1 or 2 days, but for at least a month. There's no water for a month. Or we ration it, we say, in a way that when some has, others don't. And the reality is that for us at Nawasa, that's the only way we can observe some equity in distribution. And I'm going to jump in and say, I know what everyone would say. Oh, Nawasa is the same story every year. It's the same story every year because the climatic conditions do not improve every year.
Right.
Every year it becomes worse.
Right.
And we could look high, look low. It is a reality. Climate change has been on us, and it is becoming more intense. And further, I know some may say, oh, why don't you do this and why don't you do this? You know, we were in a perfect opportunity, a perfect platform, Duncan, when the 25th of January, we were able to witness the official launch of the G-Cruise project that would have seen the commencement of projects under a $125 Green Climate Fund. What happened? COVID-19 came.
Yeah.
So it basically has set back any way that Nawasa could have started the process of saying, let us upgrade this water system, let us replace this water system, because worldwide, remember, it's not only Grenada, worldwide, and our partners from the German agency, who far from Germany, worldwide, we are faced with this challenge. So this is where we are. So what Nawasa decided to do, as I said earlier, to cushion the effects for our consumers, let us institute valve regulation schedules. And we did that for a number of communities. We did that for Les Avocats system, which serves Berrot, Minnecar, Windsor Forest, Apsley, Pedmota, Marion, St. Paul's, Richmond Hill, Montgelou, Lavery, Hopeville, Creighton. We also did it for Mardi Gras system, and Mardi Gras serves Mardi Gras, Antoine's Hill, Paso St. Paul's, Berrot, Coberton, Bay Gardens, Africa, Montparnasse, Mondelez, and Old Wester Hall. So that was on the 31st of March. Because yes, we are having harsh conditions, but we are able to maneuver. But what did we see after the 31st of March? When that schedule took effect from the 1st of April, there was further decline in supplies, further decline in production, and we were continually challenged to maintain the schedules that we would have set. So, for example, we may tell someone you're going to get water at 5 in the morning to return to 5 to 5. And what we observe happening is that on the morning when the operators go to reopen that system, they're getting further shortfalls. So instead of an anticipated 8 feet of water, we get 4. Imagine you're opening 4 feet of water to serve 7,000 plus consumers served by a water system. In the space of 2 hours, you know what's going to happen? The water supply would be completed and persons would be further challenged. So hence what we continue to do, we continue to tweak it. So we said, okay, instead of 5 to 5, you're going to give you 5 to 1. And still, in trying to give you 5 to 1, we realize, hey, we can't do it as how we plan to do it. And that's the reality that we face.
Wow.
We could look around, everything. But that's the reality. The reality is that we are not getting rains. And rainfall is what replenishes your water supply. And if you're not getting rain in a harsh dry season, then there is going to be further challenge. And this, in a nutshell, Duncan, is what NAWASA currently faces and what we know we are going to continue to face for the remainder of the dry season. And when the dry season ends on the 31st of May, we're going into the rainy season, which starts in June. And we do know what the predictions are. And this is a reality that we are faced with.
Wow, it is a tough, it is a tough reality, and we continue to, year after year, we're going through the exact same, if not worse. Of course, because we know with climate change it worsens, and of course people need to take into consideration that there's also evaporation happening. You know, so while you would hope that you would have 8 feet of water, at least a foot of that evaporates. So you wanna take that into consideration, and which is why NAWASA has been from time to time advocating that people store at least 3 days supply.
All right. And as you're speaking, Duncan, let me share something with you. We are grateful to our partners in the Ministry of Agriculture. And on 15th of April, we received some information from the Ministry of Agriculture that says this is a rainfall data for March and the first half of April 2020. And they only give us for locations in the north of the island. And they say the rainfall received to date is below the Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology predicted amount of 40 below normal, 35 normal, and 25 above normal for the period. And the message says, let us hope that the conditions improve in the next 2 weeks. So the CIMH had a prediction that we are going to expect 40% below normal, 35% normal, and 25% above normal for the period. And what it is we saw is this, basically with the absence of rain, this went further from the truth, what the expectations are. And I'm just going to open. So for example, they looked at, let us go Paradise in St. Andrew. They received only 1.3 inches of rain for the entire month of March.
Wow.
For April, up to the 15th of April, there was no inches of rain recorded. Let us look at Maribor, where NAWASA has our Maribor water treatment plant. In March, there was 3.69 inches of rain recorded. April 1st to 15th, 0.008. Let us look at Mount Alexander. In March, it was 1.45 inches of rain. And the Mount Alexander is in St. Patrick. And for the April period, 1st to the 15th, there was 0 inches of rain. Granite Tang, which is a rainforest, and of course we are expecting, more rain because it's a rainforest.
Right.
For Granite Tang, for the month of March, there were 5.88 inches of rainfall. Do you know what it was for the period April 1st to the 15th? 0.11.
Wow.
And we need to and that is what I want persons to understand. It's not that Nawasa does not want to give any water. Nawasa is in the business of selling water. When we sell water, we get revenue that we can do projects.
Right.
We can lay proper pipes, and we can do so much more. But with the absence of rainfall, this is our challenge. So let's look, for example, in Belvedere, which is a kind of rainforesty kind of area. In the month of March, there were 3.67 inches of rainfall. April 1st to 15th, 0.28. And we are not making up those stories. This was the data that we would have received from the Ministry of Agriculture. So This is the reality. We are not making it up. Wow. So basically, when we tell persons we need to regulate valves and we need to have you getting water once or twice per week, it is because of this situation. And you know what? I don't want to see the data for the South because I expect it to be as dire as what I am seeing here for the northeastern part of the island. And that's the reality, Duncan.
Wow. It is definitely a rough situation, and of course expected to be a lot rougher. We're hoping that we have a very active rainy season this year with a lot of faith. A lot of faith.
The reality is that what we can do is we can hope. I am hoping, I wish we could get at least 2 weeks of good rain. Once we have 2 weeks of good rains, the dams are replenished and our tanks would be overflowing and everything is going to be fine. But that's the reality is that we are not getting rains. And we do understand the concerns of our consumers, especially in the problematic areas such as St. Paul's, Labrie. But the reality is that we are doing the best we can. Let me tell you, Duncan. Our offices have been closed since April 1st. Mm-hmm. But we have a few persons that are working from home. So we work from home. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, every day, the T&D team and the P&Q team, so it's production and quality, transmission and distribution, every day I get a call. Jamie, we need to tweak this. It's not working. We're trying and St. Paul's not getting water. Our water trucks are out, but we are not able to service everybody. How are we going to make it work? And I can tell you, this is not, I get a call today and we get one next week. No, it's every single day we get a call. We need to tweak the schedule. So, okay, you know what? We need to put Manjaloo on a different time, because we need to give Miriam some. Miriam was supposed to get yesterday, and Miriam is not getting yesterday. And and that's the reality. And it is frustrating for us because we have more people home, you understand, and we would like persons, especially in the COVID-19 pandemic era, to have all the supplies readily available. But the reality is that we are not able to. So that is why when we tell persons, Duncan, to have a 3-day supply of stored water, it's not because we just want to be lazy, What we're trying to tell you, as long as you have a 3-day supply, we are able to tweak the system. So in between, you may get a liquor. So even if you don't get, at least your 3-day supply is going to help us. So by the time we tweak, and that area that was supposed to get yesterday did not get, and we're hoping to give them today because we're kind of trying to make up. You understand? When that is done, then by the time the 3-day period, your supply would have already, you would have used your supply, and we are able to open the taps. If the water is not flowing as adequately as we would like, we are able to have our water truck. And let me tell you something. And I want to commend highly, and I'm saying it open, our water truck operators. These guys, for the past 1 month, almost going on 1 month, have only had 2 days off within that 1 month. These guys finish work at midnight almost every night. They are out every day.
Wow.
And I can tell you, Willie and these guys, they are out every single day, trying their best to get a supply. And I remember there was a night I said, really, after 10, I was like, really, I have a customer. He was like, Jamie, give me. He said, you know what? I'll make a midnight tonight. Because they care and they understand the challenge. So that is why, sometimes when we see the comments on Facebook, and I told you that already, Duncan.
Yeah.
When you see the comments on Facebook and, the way that people express themselves, trust me. Sometimes I remember there was a night I literally cried and I said, you know what, sometimes I wish that people could just open up their eyes to realize that this is not just for Grenada. This is happening worldwide. And it's a reality that, that we are faced with, and it's a reality that NOASA, and I can give credit to Mr. Husband and Mr. Bruno and the team. These guys have not stopped working. We have not stopped working.
Wow.
Have not stopped working. So we are not in the office, but we are working from home. I have been working from home. We have Tisha and them, the other girls who goes in on and off and trying to meet Tisha, Hody, and the other team members that are working around the clock. When the water truck, when persons come at 10 and the water truck is out, we need to get to the water truck operators. We do it.
Yeah.
And it's not about boasting or, blowing our trumpet, but the reality. That is why when he tells persons, please just have a 3-day supply now. Help us out. It is because we know that within the 3 days, we will be able to at least tweak the system around so that persons can get some water. And this continues to be our appeal daily. I mean, I think, Duncan, you're tired of hearing me cry.
Of course. I mean, it's ironic that in Grenada we have so much access to water and so much access to storage of water. And we seem to have more problems than Carriacou in terms of storage. And I think those kayaks need to give us a lesson on water storage and the importance of water storage, because I feel like we take for granted the fact that, well, we're paying for water we expect to get, but if we don't get rain, then how is it expected that we get water? And then you hear sometimes some people saying, oh, well, no, Asa tell us store 3 days water, but we ain't even getting water enough to store for 3 days. But there must be a point in time when you have, and this is why we reiterate, at least 3 days.
At least 3
so
days,
you would have been experiencing this enough to understand that 3 days water supply is not enough, right? Because it happened the first time, 3 days wasn't enough. You go back the second time and store 3 days. So obviously you know it's not working. So you know you need to find a way in which you can store. And this is a problem that we are having not just with the water sector, but with a lot of the different sectors, where people believe that because it is NOASA's responsibility to give water, that it is not their own responsibility to find means and ways in which they must store water, right? So we don't have people taking responsibility for storage. So you hear when water go, people saying, oh, well, my tank, I have a couple barrels and a couple buckets of water there. But you know from time and time again that is not sufficient. So it is now your responsibility to find a way in which you can access a greater means of storage. I know that the Communal Cooperative Credit Union, along with Hubbard's or Huggins, I don't want to get it wrong, had
I think they were doing a thing where they're providing tanks, they're giving persons an opportunity to purchase tanks through them, yes.
You can purchase tanks and pay for it on a monthly basis. I mean, people should have run to take advantage of this opportunity, because you have people who may not have the opportunity or may not have the means in which they can just go and buy a tank at full price. But this gives them an avenue in which they can purchase and pay from time to time for a tank, and these are things that are important to people, and they must take, these are priorities, that they must take advantage of. And I've spoken about this numerous times. Maybe NOASA should get in the business of selling tanks. I've always said that. Get into the business of selling tanks and give people maybe the opportunity to pay for their tanks on their bill or something. I mean, we have to look for creative ways to help people. Sometimes we have to save people from themselves,
Can I tell you something, Duncan? About a week ago, I was speaking to a customer, and I said to her, well, can you at least, she got some drums, and she got 2 drums and 2 buckets. I was like, so can you at least, try to buy a drum. She was like, you telling me I have to buy a tank? I ain't have to buy no tank. Now I start to give me water. What I'm going to take my money and buy a tank for? I was like, okay. Literally, and I'm being very honest with you, literally, I was like, you know what, while it is not sufficient, this is a challenge. I was like, no, I taking my money and go and buy a tank now. Now I have to give more. I said, okay. And this is what, and it's a mindset that we need to change.
Of course.
I remember a few years ago, we went to the Ministry of Education because we said, you know what, we didn't want the idea of children going home every time there is no water within the schools, because while the government of Grenada really tries their best, they were not able to provide all the schools with required storage facilities. And we were very grateful with the support of NADMA and SIDIMA to be able to provide tanks to, over 17 schools. And at least we are grateful that if there is a water shortfall now, that, and students are in school, that they would not be challenged, because we have responsibility for maintenance for the next 3 years. And we check and we make sure that the tanks are filled, and, the teachers are able to call and report, and we go from there. And I just want to add something, Duncan, and this is something we shared on our Facebook page, and I just want to read it briefly. And it was on the 8th of April. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is facing, the headline of that front page story, SVG facing a water crisis. And it says St. Vincent and the Grenadines has now arrived at a crisis situation in terms of its water supply. In order to ensure that every area of the country can be supplied with water on a daily basis, very strict measures are being put in place. The Central Water and Sewage Authority, in a release issued Monday, April 6, said that 3 of the country's main water sources, which supply 70% of local potable water, had only recorded 30% below the average. And that is St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the fear is that the conditions can continue into May and even June during that period. And the general manager of CWCA was speaking, and he said that the systems are currently underperforming because of reduced river flow, which is directly related to rainfall. And it's a reality. And we look at and he was given the other areas, and he said as a result, the authority would have to implement stricter measures than they have at present. This include valve regulations, locking down schools that are on vacation to reduce wastage, interlinking the systems at various hours when deficiencies in one system can be bolstered. And so that I just want persons to know this is not just Grenada. That's in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that was released on the 6th of April. That's the reality that not only Grenada, but the region is facing. Reduced rainfall, reduced river flow, significant shortfall in production.
I have a question here from the live feed. This individual, this viewer would like to know if NOASA engages in well water collection or if it's just rainwater.
No. NOASA, we have boreholes in certain places, like we have boreholes in St. David's, we have Bailey's Bacolet, we have Lassages, Calivini. So we have communities that rely on boreholes. So those are the communities that you don't hear make no noise.
Right. Yeah.
Unless there is an interruption through network upgrade. So we do have communities that rely on borehole. But the majority of our system, at least 70% of it and more, is rainwater, surface water.
Okay. Now I know that that people in the area of St. Paul's.
I'm not hearing. Go over that.
I know that people in the area of St. Paul's, they have a very unique challenge in terms of water. And every dry season, we hear them complain about not getting water, not having access to water not being available to them as efficiently as they would like it to be. What recommendations do you have for them, especially given the new numbers and the situation that we are facing as a region with an extended dry season? What recommendations would you give to them?
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank, and I'm being very honest, I really like to thank the consumers in those communities. Because every dry season, we could literally tell you off our head, okay, St. Paul's people, Labrador people, Hopeville, Richmond Hill, Marion, Munjaloo, Coconut Road, Lida, Cocoa Road, because those are the problematic areas. And that is why we are very happy, as I said earlier, when we were able to get the $125 million funding under the Green Climate Fund, whereby we would be able to supply a new water system for those communities.
Mm-hmm.
Our intention was to start projects this year. Unfortunately, we have not been able to do anything at the moment because of the current restrictions due to COVID-19.
Right.
And what it is, that system, Les Avocats system, will be getting a new dam and storage tank. So that system serves St. Paul's and Marion. So the reality is that we can't do anything more than what we are asking persons to do right now. Ensure they have some form of storage, to ensure that they have at least 3 days supply stored. Ensure that they have adequate. You could have storage, but you don't have enough to meet the needs. So by the time the water truck goes, it gives you some water in 2 buckets and a barrel or 2. It wouldn't last your family if you have a family of 3, 4 for at least a 3-day period. So what we continue to advise persons in those communities that are challenged is that, one, try to get, if you can procure some water storage facilities, at least a 1,000-gallon tank, it would be a good bailout for your family. Because what also happens is that once the tanks are available, our water tankers can come and have those tanks filled.
Right.
And once the tanks are filled, if persons are able to manage it adequately, then they will be able at least to have more than a 3-day supply. So that is what we continue to advocate to persons, to make an investment in adequate storage facilities. Because you realize that your water is not coming, as you would like it to come. And the reality is that with the current dry season, it may not happen because that's the reality that we are facing with. So what I can advise persons, and we continue to do in those affected communities, is to at least have the storage, trying to get at least, 3-day supply. When, you're able to get some water, try to have those storage facilities replenished, fill them back up. You understand? And once this is done, at least that way, even if you are not able to get within the pipes, our water tankers would be able to service the communities and have water. So, for example, now Monjaloo, Richmond Hill, Bailey's Hill, Creighton, Wygon, they are getting water Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday between the hours of 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. So we're asking persons, please try to get a supply during that period. Marion, Lider, Coconut Wharf, and Coco Road, they're receiving water Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Try to get some water supply during that particular period as well. So that's the Les Avocats system that is most significantly challenged. So that's Monjaloo, Richmond Hill, Bailey's Hill, Defoe, Creighton, Wygon. You are getting water based on the schedule that we have set. Remember, the schedule can change without prior notice depending on the availability of supply. So you're going to get water on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday until further notice between the hours of 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. And Marion, Lider, Coconut Wharf, and Coco Road, you would be receiving water Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday between the same period. We also have the PTA tank system, and PTA tank serves PTA tank, Syracuse, Corinth, Vincennes, Windsor Forest, Laurelland, Pedmota, Providence, Chamfleur, and Child Island. And our intention is to have water supply available to you 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. But as we say, it is subject to change depending on the availability of supply. Actually, that particular community, they are only getting water on 8 a.m. on Tuesdays to 8 p.m. on Wednesdays, 8 a.m. on Thursday to 8 p.m. on Friday, and 8 a.m. on Saturday to 8 p.m. on Monday until further notice. So persons in Apsley, please take note of your schedule. All of these are available on our website. All of these are available on NOASA's Facebook page, social media platforms, so you can go and have a look at that as well. And as I said, what we're doing all of this in an effort to ensure that there is some equity, to supply. What we want persons to know, when we do valve regulation, when you have water, when your community has water, another community doesn't have. So it's not that everybody doesn't have. So if Marion is out of water today, it is because we are giving Monjaloo. If Richmond Hill has water today, it is because Coconut Road and Cocoa of Lyden, those areas don't have any water, because we're trying to make sure at least persons are able to get some supply, but we also advise in persons that we are providing a schedule, and we know that, you can maintain a schedule. We are not able to maintain the schedule because every day we continue to see significant shortfalls, and once we see significant shortfall, we would have to tweak it. So sometimes we try to tweak it, and we realize it works, so we say, okay, then let us advise persons. And we send out a release, okay, we are making some amendments to reflect this, and by the time we do that, it works for a day or two because we get a little more water coming in and whatever, and then eventually we have to change it. So as I said, the schedule, is not cast in stone. It will change from time to time, and it all depends on the availability of supply.
Absolutely. And I just want to read something here that I pulled up quickly from On the Spot Hardware to give people an idea as to what is being available. Now, they have the 200-gallon tank, and that's at $516. Right? And 450 gallons at $683, 600 gallons at $1,084, 800 gallons at $1,532, and 1,000 gallons at $1,846. And of course, I must say to my viewers, this is not me just preferring another hardware store over anybody else. It's just what is available to me at the time. So any of the other hardware stores that have the pricing for their tanks available that would like to share it with the general public can send it this way, and we'll be happy to share. But it is important. It's an investment. The same way you would invest in a house, you have to invest in water. Water storage is important. Every year we go through the exact same thing. Rainy season comes, well, not even the exact same thing. Every year it progresses. It gets worse, right? Because of climate change. But we want to ensure that when the rainy season is upon us, that we have water storage. If you've had water storage for the past 3 years, and every one of those years you have to complain, it means that your storage facilities is not sufficient. So you need to upgrade, right? And you need to consider, if you have 3 barrels and you find 3 barrels lasting you half the time, multiply that by 2, you need 6 barrels. Right? We need to start being innovative and understand that the responsibility for the storage of water is our business, because Noasa is in the business of selling water, yes. But if there's no water to sell, then you really can't blame Noasa. You understand? You understand? If you go to KFC and KFC and no chicken to sell for you, you can't blame KFC either. It's the same concept. So we have to make it our responsibility to store as much water as possible. And I think maybe Noasa needs to rebrand this 3 days storage and extend it to maybe a week storage, because people are not understanding that at least three days minimum means that is the minimum amount of water that you can store. It means that if you store anything under 3 days, you are at a loss, which means that you need to store more than 3 days. So maybe Noasa needs to start communicating to save a week's worth of water as opposed to 3 days. That may help people better understand that it is not 3 days, and after 3 days you're supposed to get water.
Yeah, well, that's why we tell persons at minimum 1 week, because what we used to do before, it was at minimum 1 week, at minimum 3 days, at maximum 1 week. You understand? Because the reality and the reason why it is placed like this, let me tell you what the reason why. It's because if there is a network interruption, the reality is that within 3 days, we are able to get it addressed. So by the third day, at least persons would get a supply, but they would at least have water still from their 3 day storage. But you can't store under 3 days, because when you go under 3 days, the reality is that if we are not able to get through within 3 days, then we're going to have our water tankers out, and the water tankers will not be able to service every home in a given time period. Mm-hmm. And that's the reality. Mm-hmm. So that's why we always say person at minimum 3 days. Mm-hmm. If you can go at max 1 week, it works for us. And that's why we always say persons, that your drums, and I like the way you put it. If you realize that for the past dry season, 2 buckets and 3 drums not working for you, then multiply it. Go by 2 or go by 3. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the reality is that Nawasa cannot give what we don't have. Yeah. We can't give. And you say if you go to KFC and they're not chicken, you can't get chicken. So if we don't have adequate supplies that we can provide to the relevant consumers, we are not able to do it. And we are in the business of selling water. We want everybody. I want to get up one morning and I don't have a call from someone complaining I have no water. Right. That is our dream. That is why when we were able to get the funding from the Green Climate Fund, $125 million, the biggest ever single investment in the water sector. It was a moment that I remember when Mr. Husband's message and he said, yeah, we got you. It was just approval. It's like, it's like a sigh of relief. Yeah. Because at least we are seeing progress. It's a start. Yeah. It's a start from where we are. I mean, when you think of where Nawasa was, I'm in Nawasa 17 years. And for 17 years, when I think about where Nawasa was, the areas where didn't have water, and now we have at least over 90% of the island fully covered with pipe-borne water, we have made strides, leaps and bounds. Yeah. But what we ask in persons is that within our efforts, that they can help. And how they can help is that don't treat this dry season like any other dry season. If you're not able to make it work this dry season, make sure you are better prepared next dry season. Because the reality also is that even with the Green Climate Fund, that remember we are hoping to start projects this year. That does not mean that it will be completed this year. Yeah. Because remember, you're building, you have to get new dams and you have to get new water sources. You have to get all of that, and it's going to take a while. Mm-hmm. That's why this project is a 6-year project. But what we are going to do, we are going to prioritize the systems that we know are severely challenged. And that is what we are doing. Right. And so all we ask in person, help us to help you. And how do you help us to help you? Is by having adequate storage. What it is we recommend from Nawasa, at minimum a 3-day supply of 35 gallons of water per person per day.
All right. Well, Jamila,
so if you know how many persons you have in your household, multiply it. Check and see, do I have enough for my daughter, my son, my husband, my wife, my granny? Do I have enough? Yeah. And if when you look at it, you say no, by the time we cook, and remember, you have to consider cooking, you have to consider bathing, you have to consider drinking, you have to wash dishes, you have to wash your clothes, all to consider. So if you are able to do all of that with your storage and it lasts you 1 day, then you know it is not adequate.
Absolutely.
At minimum 3-day supply of 35 gallons of water per person per day. And we are working, I can tell you, Mr. Husbands, Mr. Bruno, Mr. Gabriel, Mr. Abraham and the team, Mr. Neptune and his team, these guys have not stopped working. Even with a mandatory curfew in place, these guys have been on the ground every single day.
Of course.
These guys risk going out there, risk coming home to their families, because we understand that Nawasa is an essential service. And our obligation is to provide water to the tri-island states of Grenada, Carriacou, and Peter Martinique. And we want to thank our consumers for their patience. We want to thank them for their understanding. You know, those that call, persons, you know what is so nice? Some person will just call to say, listen, we understand, but thank you. You know, not all that call and get on, but there are some that call and say thank you. Yeah. You know, and I would like to highlight the team that they are working. They have been on the ground. We have not stopped working. And we are working more now because we are not in the office.
Right.
So our customer services reps, Hodia, Tisha, Charlene, Cassie, Debbie, those that are working from home, you know, taking all these calls on the numbers that provided. Yeah. You know, we want to say a special thank you on behalf of the board, management, and staff. And so Mr. Gabriel and the team, you know, Mr. Bruno, Mr. Nep, the plant operators that go out every day, you know, go out every day, leave their homes and go on the plants for all these hours to ensure that the systems are up and running. Penny and ID and the guys that go out and turn valves and, you know, make sure, and Vaughn and the guys that are out fixing the pipes, Boops and Otis and all of that. These guys work 24/7 to make it work for us. So all we are asking you for us to help us is just have storage. And it's going to go a very long way. Yes, we have a long way to go. Yes, we have things to do. We are going to get it done. Let us get over this period of COVID-19. Let everything settle back, and you're going to see how speedily we are going to be on with our projects. We have projects that have been on hold. We can't continue with some projects. because of the risk for COVID-19. But you know what? Once everything is settled, NOASA will be back on the ground, and we will be able to get those projects back up and running. We'll be able to start officially the Green Climate Fund, $125 million, that will provide water supply throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Peter Martinique. Bigger systems, more storage. This is what citizens have been clamoring for, and this is what we will be working hard to provide in the coming months and years.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jamila, for taking the time to speak with us and, of course, with the general public. I hope the persons who need to be listening are listening. For some reason, they tend to always be the ones not listening. But, of course, we continue to encourage on NOASA's behalf that people store adequate amount of water and so on. But, of course, you are always welcome on this platform if you have any information that you'd like to share and updates you want to give. And, of course, we know that your platform on social media is also very active, and you guys continue to share information. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Duncan, and say hi to my friend Naz for me.
I will.
And thank you so much for the opportunity that you all give. You all continue to be a partner, and we are grateful, beyond grateful, for this opportunity whereby we can speak. So my final message to the public, please just have some stories. 35 gallons of water per person per day for a minimum of 3 days. Yeah. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
All right, guys, and that was the communications supervisor from NOASA giving us an update on the water struggles that we have been having, and letting us know that, of course, with proper storage, again, follow policies. Policies are put in place, plans are put in place for our betterment, to make our lives easier. Sometimes we find storing all this water is a burden, but at the end of the day, we are the ones that stand to benefit. So a lot of the hardware stores, they do have tanks available. What maybe they can consider doing is partnering with the financial institutions, as Huggins would have done, and create an avenue where people can pay for tanks or pay for storage facilities for water over time, because some people may not have the means by which they can do it all at once. So you want to take that into consideration. Guys, we are slowly running out of time. Of course, we have to end a little early today to transfer over to GIS, who will be carrying a statement, a national statement from the Minister of Health, and that would be happening at 12 o'clock. All right, so we want to make a sufficient time available for that. But remember, in whatever happens, guys, we are all in this together. We have come this far. We have worked hard at it. Some people have suffered through it more than others. We never know the extent at which this quarantine is affecting some people. For some of us, it's a breeze. For others, it might be very difficult. All right? But at the end of the day, we all need each other. We all need a helping hand. So check in on your neighbors. Be neighborly. Check in on your friends. Check in on your family members. Live good with one another. That is important. I'm sure right now the neighbor, some people in the neighborhood, they're vexed with for a month. They wish it wasn't so. Let's live good with each other. Let's work together. We can fight this. We can beat this. We can come out on top in many of the challenges that we face in life, if we all embrace that spirit of togetherness, cooperation, and true patriotism as Grenadians. Guys, it was a pleasure being here with you today. In whatever you do and whatever you say, be safe, be secure. We always want to be talking with you and never about you. Remember, the seed payments commence from tomorrow, all right? All the way down to Friday, and we will try daily to update you on where you have to go, in what constituency it's available in, and if there are home payments being made. So guys, keep in touch with us. Follow us on our Facebook page for all of the latest updates. It's always a pleasure speaking with you again. In whatever you say and whatever you do, be safe, be secure. I want to be talking with you tomorrow and not about you. Please do enjoy the remainder of your day.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
I'm so glad to see you. You see, I've been thinking about this case between government and Grenada, and I need to better understand a few things. You see, some people say government to Grenada to court, and others say Grenada to government to court, and he say, she say. So who really took who to court?
I know it can be confusing, Suzanne, but it is simple. If you study the ruling from the court hearing which took place in Washington, it clearly says that WRB, the company that owns Grenada, took government to court.
So why Grenada decided to take government to court?
For what it's worth, government decided to change the law so that the price of electricity can be cheaper for Grenadians. I guess the company felt that they would no longer be making the fat profit if people are paying less for electricity, as when they had full control over price and everything else. So guess what? The company decided that they wanted government to take back the company. They took government to court and demanded that the people of Grenada must buy back the company and pay them a sizable amount too. But you know what? They could only have done this because of the contract that the NDC government signed in 1994, that if any government passed any law to make the price of electricity cheaper, the state had to buy back the shares.
Interesting. You see, that's why I always trust you to explain these things, making it simple for me to understand.
So what WRB wants government to do is to buy back all the shares that the NDC government sold them in 1994. The contract they signed with the NDC government then does not allow any competition, which is why our rates are so high. And what is worse, the then government agreed with them that if government had to buy back the shares, the price would have to be a lot more than it is worth, and the company must decide the selling price.
Pure manje popo. That was a real giveaway, man.
You hit the nail on the head, Suzanne. Government has no choice based on the court ruling. The court said that Grenada has to pay this foreign-based company based on the contract the NDC government signed in 1994. But guess what? Even if the NDC administration signed this bad deal, I'm happy that the NNP administration is prepared to pay up. And credit must be given to them that just a few days after the court ruled, government has already announced that our electricity bill will be reduced by 30% for the next 3 months because of COVID-19. My dear, all things work together for good.
I can't agree with you more. I fully agree.
I think government should just pay Grenlag their money based on what the court says. And let's keep moving on to cheaper electricity costs. Remember, we have the highest electricity rates in the region.